agree. Out of respect for the Canadian forces and the women and men that serve this country so well, would he not agree that we should try to get this thing passed before the end of the year?
Honourable member has about 15 seconds, and then we have to go to question period.
I would certainly like to have seen the last 10 years be more productive, but unfortunately they're not. I don't think we should be passing flawed bills at all, especially when there are gaping holes that can easily be fixed. So please, I served for 10 years. I don't need lessons on how to respect the Canadian forces. Thank you.
Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Don Valley North.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to recognize the Police and Peace Officers National Memorial Day that falls on the last Sunday of September. Over 900 brave officers have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service of their communities, and we commemorate those who lost their lives in the line of duty. We honor their sacrifice and their families by building a safer Canada. I am thankful that I can advise the House that no police or peace officer was killed in the line of duty in 2024. Our profound hope is that we may say the same every year. Yet every day, brave officers stand ready to face danger to keep us safe. Throughout the summer, I had the pleasure of meeting the fine officers of Toronto Police Division 33 in my riding of Don Valley North. I commend their professionalism, compassion, and commitment. We owe police and peace officers an enduring debt of gratitude, and I thank them for their dedication to keeping our communities safe. Thank you.
The honourable member for Markham Unionville.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals broke our immigration system. We have legitimately vulnerable persons from Hong Kong, Ukraine, and Sudan that have been left in limbo on their path to permanent residency despite already being in Canada. Personally, I've met with over 500 people in the Hong Kong Pathways program across Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver. They're all positively contributing in Canada. They are paying taxes and they are integrating into our society. Canada's asylum system was set up to protect truly vulnerable persons, but it is being abused through the chaotic Liberal immigration system. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives call for the Liberal government to fix the broken immigration system to help the many people who are being left behind. Thank you.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Sherbrooke.
L'honorable
The honourable member for Sherbrooke.
Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize the Canadian Alliance on Mental Illness and Mental Health, CAMI, and to highlight the importance of Mental Illness Awareness Week, taking place October 5th to 11th. CAMI has spent the last 25 years ensuring mental health and substance use health remain national priorities, advocating for awareness, reducing stigma, and demanding life-changing care. Later this evening here in Ottawa, CAMI will announce the 2025 Champions of Mental Health Awards, celebrating 7 remarkable individuals and organizations whose efforts are making a lasting difference in communities across our country. I want to extend my warmest congratulations to this year's honorees for their leadership and commitment to advancing mental health and substance use health. Each of these recipients is proof that change is possible when compassion is matched with concrete action. Together, let's continue striving for a Canada where mental health and substance use health are understood and supported with the same urgency as physical health, a Canada that meets our awesome potential for everyone.
L'honorable député
The honourable member for Alfred Pellan. Mr. Speaker, for the 4th year in a row, I had the privilege of distributing new school bags filled with school supplies to families in my riding of Alfred Pellan. For these families, the start of the school year can be difficult. This year, we distributed over 130 school bags thanks to the generosity of residents and thanks to the invaluable support of the Sésame organization, Saint Françoise de Sales Parish, and the Centre Petit Espoir. I thank them all from the bottom of my heart. Seeing the children's big smiles as I hand them their school bags always reminds me how much of an impact a simple gesture can have. The start of the school year is an important time for young people. This program's support offers many families a positive and fair start to the year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to represent such a caring and supportive community.
Miramichi Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, across Canada tomorrow, rallies are being planned to celebrate the martyrs of Hamas. Let's be honest about who they are celebrating. They are not martyrs, they are monsters. They raped and tortured and murdered nearly 1,200 innocent Jews on October 7th. And now their supporters plan to dance in our streets. This is not free speech, it is hate speech meant to intimidate. This is not protest, it is glorifying terror. 80 years ago, the world said never again. The Nuremberg laws showed us that hate begins where it ends. When people cheer for those who slaughter Jews, history is repeating itself in real time. If Canada cannot call evil by its name, then we have lost our moral compass. We have lost more than our moral compass. We have lost our soul. I will not stay silent, Mr. Speaker. Shame on this government. Shame.
The honourable member for Scarborough Agincourt.
Mr. Speaker, Zhongqiu Fai Lok. Today, millions celebrate Mid-Autumn Festival. Not only is it an important celebration in Chinese culture, but similar celebrations are held in Korean, Japanese, Vietnamese, and other Asian communities. Like many traditional harvest festivals, it coincides with the full moon, and the focus is on family, food, and prosperity. Also known as Mooncake Festival, the cakes feature an egg yolk in the middle, signifying the moon, which represents unity, harmony, and prosperity. The origin story of moon goddess Chang and her earthbound husband, HoC, is all about reunion. Moved by true love, the mother of the moon allows the couple to reunite each year on the full moon of the 8th lunar month, which has now become a time of reunion around the world, particularly for families. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival, 中秋节快乐!
The honourable member for Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, in April, the Prime Minister promised bail reform to keep repeat violent criminals off our streets. But half a year later, he has broken his promise and has kept soft on crime liberal catch and release laws in place. Because of liberal bail, gun crime across Canada is up 130%, hate crimes up 258%, homicides are up nearly 30%, and extortion is up 357%.
Unbelievable.
Today, Conservatives are proposing a fast-track solution to pass our jail, not bail, bill right away to keep Canadians safe. Will they scrap liberal bail or get out of the way so Conservatives can do it?
L'honorable député de Abitibi-Témiscamingue.
The honourable member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers can feel extra proud today because Kim Clavel is once again the world boxing champion. She promised us she would do it. She said, and I quote, "I will step into the ring with Quebec tattooed onto my heart and become world champion again." And that is exactly what she did so brilliantly on September 28th when she defeated her Argentinian opponent by unanimous decision in a very fierce, frenzied fight. By winning the IBF strawweight belt, Kim Clavel became the first Quebec woman to become champion in 2 weight classes, and she accomplished all that while overcoming adversity and self-doubt. What a wonderful example she is for all young Quebecers to follow, especially young Quebecois women. Mr. Speaker, our champion from St. Calix now has her sights on the WBC belt. Let us hope that her rival has the courage to face her in the ring. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, congratulations to Kim Clavel, our world champion.
L'honorable député de Sherbrooke.
The honourable member for Sherbrooke. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are celebrating Women's History Month. During this month, I'd like to acknowledge the remarkable achievement of a young woman from Sherbrooke who made history last month in Rwanda. Magdalene Vallière-Mille climbed to the top of the podium and became world road cycling champion at just 24 years of age. After over 160 kilometers of racing and a decisive push right at the end, the young woman crossed the finish line alone. Canada had never held the title, but Magdalene clinched it for us. The young Sherbrooker is living a dream right now, and we are living the dream with her. Her victory is a source of pride for her team, for Sherbrooke, and for the entire country. And this victory will be talked about for many years to come. Next September, Canada will host the World Championships, and our proud Sherbrooke Spirit will defend her title with the entire nation there to support her. 1,000 congratulations to Magdalene, and a happy Women's History Month to everyone.
The honourable member for Newton-Tecumseh-Gwillimbury.
Mr. Speaker, the Blue Jays continue to annihilate the New York Yankees. But it's a swing and a miss every time this Prime Minister goes up against the Americans. U.S. tariffs on Canada have doubled since the Prime Minister took office, and Canada now faces the highest unemployment rate in the G7. While the Blue Jays are hitting home runs, this Prime Minister keeps coming home with nothing. He's already blown past his own deadlines to secure a deal with the U.S., and the tariffs have only gotten worse. Businesses across the country and those in my community, like MyTech, Oetiker, Borden Metal Products, and Honda, are paying the price for the Liberals' elbows-down approach. Investment is fleeing, and unemployment is rising. Canadians can't afford more failed negotiations and another wasted trip abroad from this Prime Minister. It's time for him to stop striking out and bring all the wins for Canada.
The honourable member for Yukon.
Mr. Speaker, when Senator Ione Christensen departed this world on September 15th, the Yukon lost one of its best-loved leaders. A fourth-generation Yukoner, Ione's accomplishments are legion. First woman mayor of Whitehorse, first female commissioner of the Yukon, and first Yukon woman appointed to the Senate. Beyond her political life, Ione loved the Yukon outdoors, rafting and hiking the waterways and trails of the territory, including the historic Chilkoot Trail that she hiked over 20 times, in the footsteps of her great-grandfather's first entry to the Yukon in 1897. That same great-grandfather carried over the Chilkoot Pass a small sack of sourdough, passed on through generations and nurtured religiously by Ione through many a family Sunday pancake breakfast. The sourdough also thrives in the households of hundreds of grateful Yukoners. Just this weekend, Mr. Speaker, I baked a couple of loaves in which I can truly say the spirit of Ione lives on. Before her passing, I asked Ione for advice for our leaders. Hang in there, she whispered. And Ione, we owe you no less an honour than to hang in there and stand up for Canada.
The honourable member for Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize Sarah Tessier of the North Pine Foundation. Sarah's journey is one of remarkable courage and resilience. As a survivor who has faced immense personal challenges, she has not only persevered, but transformed her lived experience into leadership. Sarah is now a tireless champion for formerly incarcerated people, those who too often face stigma, systemic barriers, and a lack of opportunity upon release. Through her advocacy and her work at the North Pine Foundation, she is helping to break down those barriers, offering hope and opening doors to meaningful second chances. Her story reminds us that recovery and redemption are possible, and that with support and opportunity, people can rebuild their lives and contribute greatly to our communities. Sarah Tessier is a fighter, a leader, and an inspiration to us all.
The honourable member for Oxford.
The tragic story of Bailey McCourt, who was murdered by her ex-partner in Kelowna, has been shared many times in the House before. Today I want to share a different perspective. Christopher Anderson, the bystander who was just walking by and rushed to save her, wrote to me, with his permission, I share you his words. He wrote, and I quote, "I ran towards them, but by the time I reached them, he was already hitting her in the head, over and over. I held her hand, and I told her she was safe and loved. I'm not writing to ask for anything specific. I just need you to know what happened, and I need others to know Bailey's name. She was a mother, a daughter, and a human being who deserved to live. People are dying in plain view. I don't believe we can afford to keep ignoring it," unquote. Mr. Speaker, violent crime has countless victims. Those whose lives are taken, the bystanders, the first responders, communities, and the families who must carry on. I urge all members to remember Bailey, hear Christopher's plea, and put politics aside and pass the Jail Not Bail Act today.
The honourable member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is Women's History Month. During this month, I would like to pay tribute to a great Quebecoise, Jeannette Bertrand. As an author, journalist, playwright, and communicator, she has, for decades, brought women's voices to the forefront of our screens and public discourse. Through her work, she courageously addressed topics that had been silenced for too long: equality in the workplace, domestic violence, stereotypes, consent, mental health, aging, and dignity. She gave a face, a voice, and humanity to real-life experiences. She helped to break taboos and to advance equality in Quebec and in Canada. Her influence is intergenerational. She has inspired creators, she has empowered families, and she has raised awareness among policymakers. Even though she's a centenarian, Mr. Speaker, she continues to inspire people, to spark reflection, and to open paths to fulfillment for women. Thank you, Ms. Bertrand.
The honourable member for Elgin St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's off to Washington today. Once again, he's wheels up but elbows down. Remember when he promised to negotiate a win with Donald Trump by July 21st? Well, since he took office, U.S. tariffs on Canada have doubled, thousands of jobs have been lost, and Canada has the second highest unemployment rate in the G7. Businesses in St. Thomas, Elgin, and London are still seeing no end in sight to the trade uncertainty. If this is a win, I would hate to see a loss. But the Prime Minister isn't the only one heading to the United States. So are investors. We have lost nearly $54 billion in investment since he took office. Stellantis pausing production in Ontario while investing $10 billion in the United States. Enbridge building pipelines in the U.S. while saying liberal anti-energy laws are making it impossible to do it here. Every time the Prime Minister faces Trump, he backs down. No deals, no progress, just more pain for Canadian workers.
The honourable member for Burlington.
Mr. Speaker, October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. The month encourages open dialogue to help break the silence surrounding a difficult experience faced by over 1,600 grieving families in Canada each year. I am proud of my colleague from Burnaby North Seymour for introducing Evans Law, a long overdue measure to support grieving parents while on parental leave. Evans Law was inspired by the experience of a constituent of mine, whose personal grief can inspire lasting change. When passed, Evans Law will amend the Employment Insurance Act and the Canadian Labour Code, ensuring that families will no longer experience additional trauma caused by having to notify Service Canada and file a new claim to continue receiving their benefits. This small change means families will be able to focus on healing from their loss rather than navigating bureaucratic processes. As we observe Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, let us create space for the voices of families who have experienced the heartbreaking loss of an infant. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Liberal legislation has freed criminals in our streets and created chaos everywhere. In St. Jerome, a woman was killed by her spouse, a man who was arrested 30 times before and who violated his release conditions several times, and he was released by these Liberals. Today, we're voting on a Conservative motion to reverse these Liberal laws, put criminals back in prison, and restore security for all Canadians. Will the PM allow this to pass? The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Every Canadian deserves to be safe and to feel safe in their communities. Over the course of the recent federal election campaign, we made several commitments to help reform Canada's bail system and to advance stronger penalties for those who commit serious offences against their fellow Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we are willing to work across the aisle with other members to ensure we put forward reforms that are informed by evidence, not ones that are seemingly copied and pasted from American-style bail laws. Mr. Speaker, it's only going to be a matter of weeks before we advance new legislation to strengthen criminal justice reforms in this country. I hope all members from all parties support us.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I met with the head of the Peel Regional Police Union, along with a group of crime victims. Among them was the Faruqi family. Alim Faruqi rose at night to protect his kids from a home invader and was shot in the throat. He's dead. His brother came out and said the Liberal government should be ashamed of itself for keeping in place Liberal bail that has allowed for 1,600 crimes every single day. We have a motion before the House to get rid of Liberal bail and restore safety to our streets. Will the Prime Minister let it pass?
Hear, hear. Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, obviously, when such violent circumstances arise in communities across the country, it's incumbent upon members of Parliament on both sides of the aisle to condemn them unreservedly. I would remind my honourable colleague some of the laws that he points to in his many promises, including ones pertaining to self-defence, were in fact put into Canada's laws when the Conservatives left held power while Stephen Harper was Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition was in his cabinet. Mr. Speaker, moving forward, Conservatives, Liberals and others will see some of the strongest reforms being put in place when it comes to changing the bail system in this country and when it comes to adopting stiffer sentences for serious crimes.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a big win in terms of the U.S. and get a deal before July 21st. Tomorrow, he'll be announcing the deal he will get with the U.S. President. The PMO has indicated to the media that there'll be a full elimination of tariffs on aluminum and steel. Can he confirm as well that the big win he'll be announcing tomorrow will include the elimination of all tariffs on cars, softwood lumber, and all other Canadian products? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is right. Yesterday, at the invitation of the U.S. President, the Prime Minister will go to Washington to continue important discussions, obviously, on the issue of trade and how to protect jobs and industry in Canada and how to build a North American economy that will benefit both of our countries. We'll also be discussing other international issues. And, Mr. Speaker, I would be surprised if the Leader of the Opposition was not happy with this commitment from our U.S. partner.
The Prime Minister promised that he was going to negotiate a win with the President, that he'd have a deal by July 21st. Here we are in October, and tomorrow the Prime Minister is going to the White House to announce this deal. Surely he's not just going for a photo op and to make more excuses. And the Prime Minister's office is already telling the media that there will be the full elimination of tariffs on steel and aluminum. Will he also confirm that this deal that he's announcing tomorrow, this win, will include elimination of tariffs on autos, softwood lumber, Buy America, and all other protectionism against Canada?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade.
Mr. Speaker, I remember the Leader of the Opposition and some of his colleagues criticizing for the government for not having enough direct face-to-face engagement with the President of the United States. So good news, Mr. Speaker. The President has invited the Prime Minister to a working meeting tomorrow in Washington, followed by a working lunch. Obviously, Mr. Speaker, the conversation will center on trade issues and what we want to do to protect Canadian industries and Canadian workers, at the same time building an economy in North America that's in the interest of both countries. And the discussion will also talk about a series of other international issues.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Surely, after promising to negotiate a win, to have a deal by July the 21st, the Prime Minister's not flying all the way to Washington, D.C. just to have lunch. By the sounds of it, that's all they are going to accomplish, Mr. Speaker. We've seen since he promised this win, American tariffs on Canada have doubled. The Prime Minister has caved on counter tariffs on the digital services tax and on everything else, and 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs as a result of his weakness. Surely the Prime Minister will finally keep his promise and come home with a win. What will it be?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is currently in the best position of any major trading ally of the United States. But we've said consistently, Mr. Speaker, that we have work to do with our American partners on sectoral tariffs. We have work to do in building an economy in North America that's in the interest of Canadian businesses and Canadian workers. That's exactly the conversation that the Prime Minister will have with the President. And Mr. Speaker, was the Leader of the Opposition suggesting if the President of the United States invites you to go to Washington for a meeting and a working lunch, we should have just said no and hung the phone up?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
No, we're suggesting he actually keep his promise and negotiate a win. The Liberals' excuses are tripping over each other. Last week, the Prime Minister said the American tariffs on Canada are so bad that that's why we have the fastest shrinking economy in the G7, the second highest unemployment, $52 billion of net investment that has fled, 86,000 jobs that have been lost. And now they're saying that we have the best possible position. Which is it? Why is our economy so bad? Because of failed Liberal diplomacy on trade or bad economic management at home?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
We never talk down our workers, we never talk down our industries, and we never talk down our economy. Let me talk to you about good news, Mr. Speaker. 500 jobs new at Itachi in Varennes, Quebec. 150 jobs in Alstom, Saint-Bruno, Quebec. 400 new jobs in Kitimat, Cedar, LNG. 500 new jobs at Ferrero, Brantford, Ontario. Who doesn't like Nutella? 460 jobs at Stem Cell Technologies in Burnaby. We'll continue to build Canada's
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, we welcome the Prime Minister's visit to Washington. We asked for it, and it was high time. But now it's time for him to keep his election promise to boost the Quebec economy, because so far it's been concession after concession. He capitulated on the digital services tax. He has abandoned the global minimum tax for U.S. giants, and there's even more delays. And despite all of these concessions, not only is there no win, but Donald Trump has increased tariffs on our softwood. When will Quebec see some gains? The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade. Mr. Speaker, as I said in an answer a few minutes ago, the Prime Minister will go to Washington later today for a working meeting at the invitation of the U.S. President in the Oval Office, and we'll be discussing issues that my Bloc colleague has mentioned. Obviously, we'll be discussing tariffs on softwood lumber. We'll be talking about other sectors, steel, aluminum, automobiles. These are exactly the discussions we're going to be having with our U.S. partners, Mr. Speaker, and we are going to continue to do the necessary work to get there. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, what the PM announced is that he'd be focused on discussions on steel tariffs. Steel is important. Quebec's forests are also important, as is aluminum. But the Prime Minister is not addressing these issues in his discussions, and the federal aid announced in August for the forestry industry is still not available. While he's in Washington, the BM must talk about aluminum and wood. But in the meantime, right here in Ottawa, could he at least release his own financial assistance for Quebec's forestry industry? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, we're always going to be here for our various industries in Canada and in Quebec in particular. We'll be here for steel workers, but also for aluminum and also for softwood lumber and the automotive sector. We'll be here for all of our workers. In fact, we have several types of funding that will be available for different sectors, and we're having several discussions with these sectors, and I'd be happy to work with my colleague, who I appreciate greatly to find solutions for softwood lumber. The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Berchères. Mr. Speaker, there is a public danger on our roads, low-cost drivers. We're mainly talking about immigrant truck drivers from Ontario who are exploited by companies to save costs and who drive heavy goods vehicles without qualifications. This is a cause of fatal accidents, abuse of vulnerable people, and illegal competition for truckers who follow the rules. Ottawa must launch an investigation, tighten the screws on these companies, prohibit temporary immigrants from incorporating. It's simple. There's 10 steps to take, but the federal government is looking the other way. When will it put an end to these discount drivers? The Honourable Minister of Employment and Jobs. Our government knows that truckers advance our economy and they deserve all the protection set out under the Labour Code. That's why we create an inspection team that is specialized, that has already done more than 100,000 inspections in this sector, and we are enforcing the law rigorously and working with the provinces to fight against false classifications so we can grant truckers the rights and advantages that they are entitled to.
For Regina Capel.
For those of us keeping score at home, the Prime Minister is 0 for 3. He promised to, and I quote, negotiate a win with Trump by July 21st. There still is no deal, and tariffs are actually higher. He promised it would be elbows up. Then he quietly dropped counter tariffs, and what did he get in return? Nothing. He promised Canada would have the fastest growing economy in the G7. Instead, it's the fastest shrinking. The 86,000 Canadians who have lost their jobs since he took office can't afford to wait for the Prime Minister to get through this slump. So, when he comes home from Washington this week, will he have a deal to eliminate all U.S. tariffs, or is that promise just stuff he said during the election?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I know it's Monday, but I already have good news for the week, Mr. Speaker. This morning, Mr. Speaker, Canadians understand that the world is changing and we need to adapt, Mr. Speaker, and that we have a generational opportunity to invest in Canada. This morning, Mr. Speaker, we announced a new capital formation budgeting framework, Mr. Speaker, in a new budget cycle. My colleagues will be happy because it's going to give them more clarity to see the budget expenditure. It's going to provide more predictability to provinces, territory, and business. And, Mr. Speaker, the best of all, it's going to allow more opportunities to align with the budget season. Mr. Speaker, let's build it.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Changing the date they tell Canadians how bad inflation and deficits is going to be isn't going to give comfort to anybody, Mr. Speaker. And they have to get their story straight. When they're asked about job losses here at home, they say it's all because of U.S. tariffs. When they're asked why the Prime Minister can't get a win on those tariffs, they say Canada already has the best deal and that those tariffs don't apply to most goods. Both of those excuses cannot be true at the same time. But here is what is true. The deficit here has doubled. Canada has the second highest unemployment in the G7. 86,000 people have lost their jobs. So what is the reason? His failed trade diplomacy abroad or his failed economic policies at home?
The Honourable Minister of Canada, responsible for Canada-U.S. trade.
That's exactly it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier, we remember the Conservatives standing up in this House with manufactured indignation that the Prime Minister should be talking to the President every day. The Prime Minister should be in Washington. Why hasn't he been in Washington? Good news, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister and the President speak frequently. They are in touch on a whole series of international issues, the most important of which is obviously the Canadian economy, Canadian workers, and Canadian jobs. And that's why we're looking forward to discussing those exact issues in the Oval Office tomorrow with the President.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Thayendanegea.
Mr. Speaker, today is the day. As the Prime Minister heads to Washington, Canadians are closely watching. After a string of failures, including the doubling of tariffs on Canadian goods and repeated missed deadlines on his promises to negotiate a win for Canada, expectations couldn't be higher. For months, this Prime Minister has talked a big game, but delivered nothing when it mattered most. Mr. Speaker, will he finally keep his word and deliver a real win for Canada and secure the removal of U.S. tariffs?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Will always always stand up for workers, always stand up for our industries. And that's why also when it comes to different sectors that are being tariffed, we are there to support them. Again, this morning I was on the phone with the CEO of DeFasco, making sure that we're there for our steel workers. We were also working with Algoma Steel over the weekend. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? Good news, Irving Shipyard will be now buying steel from Algoma in Ontario. Mr. Speaker, this is what it is to build Canada strong.
The honourable member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tayandinaga.
This government's message on the economy has been all over the place, Mr. Speaker. On one hand, they blame U.S. tariffs for Canadians' shrinking economy while boasting about the best trade deal with the U.S. The facts tell a different story. The deficit has doubled, second highest unemployment and fastest shrinking economy in the G7, $54 billion in investment fled, and 86,000 people out of work. Mr. Speaker, is this bleak reality the result of this Prime Minister's failed economic policies here at home, his failure to secure results abroad, or both?
Yeah, The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Speaker, we're focused on building a very strong bilateral relationship, and I asked my colleague opposite, is it a failure when we support our auto industry? Is it a failure when we support steel? Is it a failure when we support aluminum, Mr. Speaker? We beg to differ. We are diversifying our trade routes. We are building strong bilateral relationships across the world, including with the United States, Mr. Speaker. And on this side of the House, we will always fight for Canada. Vive le Canada!
The honourable member for Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
Mr. Speaker, GM is eliminating thousands of jobs in Oshawa, and Stellantis has idled its Windsor plant while sending $10 billion to the United States. Families across Ontario are rightly concerned that the Prime Minister has no plan for Canadian auto and no plan for impacted workers. Will the Prime Minister bring home a deal for Canadian auto that eliminates U.S. tariffs?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, we've been actively engaged with all the CEOs of the D3, Stellantis, GM, and of course Ford, as well as with Honda and Toyota. And we've put in place a remission system to make sure that they would be able to continue their operation and create jobs. Now, we know that the auto sector is facing a challenge. That's why also we're engaging with Unifor and the different labor unions. And at the same time, we have now a very important fund of $5 billion to help these plants. We will be there for our auto sector.
Here, here. Well done.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic, l'Érable, Lotbinière. The wait is over. Tomorrow will be a big day for this Liberal Prime Minister. A big day because tomorrow the PN will finally keep his promise and negotiate a win for Canada. Tomorrow, tariffs on steel, aluminum, automobiles, and lumber will be eliminated because that's what the PM promised, right? We encourage the PM to keep his promise to negotiate a win with the U.S. by July 21st. But he did not keep his promise. His grand strategy was to bow to the demands of the U.S. president, and tariffs have doubled. Tomorrow, will the PM finally keep his promise to negotiate a win and eliminate all U.S. tariffs on Canada? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, today is a great day, Mr. Speaker. Canadians understand that the world has changed. We have to adapt. And in terms of capital investment, well, we presented a new budget framework and updated the budgetary cycle. This is good news. It provides clarity to my colleagues. It allows them to see budgetary measures. And it also allows companies and provinces and associations that depend on federal funds to have greater clarity and opportunity for construction in this country. When we'll consider to celebrate, they will be building a strong Canada. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Clarity, Mr. Speaker? Let's talk about that. The Liberal position on the economy isn't clear. On the one hand, they claim that the collapse of the economy, well, the worst in the G7, is due to tariffs. On the other hand, they say they've reached an excellent deal on tariffs. But what do the real figures say? The deficit has doubled.
Canada is the G7 economy with the sharpest contraction and the second highest unemployment. $52 billion in net investment has fled the country, and 86,000 people have lost their jobs. Is the Prime Minister a poor diplomat, or a poor comments for Canada, or just quite simply bad? The Honourable Minister. I'm really sad when I hear what the Conservatives are saying. Canada has an enviable position in the G7. We have the lowest debt to GDP ratio, and one of the two G7 countries that has a AAA rating. But instead of talking down the Canadian economy, they should be proud of making a strong Canada, that we're building a strong Canada together and investing and making generational investment. We're working for Canada and Canadians and workers. The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, the postal crisis is worsening, and this is fully the federal government's fault. On Friday, Canada Post submitted a new collective agreement offer to its workers, an offer that was worse than the previous one, which was rejected. Canada Post is taking advantage of the leverage given it to that Ottawa gave it to intimidate its employees and force them to back down. The minister keeps saying that both sides must negotiate, but by getting involved in this conflict, he has poisoned the discussions. Does he realize that it's his fault today if no one's receiving their mail today? The Honourable Minister. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For us, Canada Post is a vital, essential institution that is part of our fabric that needs to be saved. Why? Because Canada Post is losing $10 million a day, and that Canadians have to pay for this just to maintain its operations. Now, I understand that's acceptable for the Bloc, but it is not for us. We need to modernize and transform Canada Post, and I have trust that both the management and the Union will be able to take the necessary action to save it. The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, before the Liberals got involved, the mail was being delivered. And since they got involved, the Postal Service has been completely paralyzed. And it's the regions, the small businesses, the most vulnerable who are paying the price. Before the Liberals got involved, Canada Post was making serious offers. And now we've never been further from an agreement. And we don't see how the parties could reach one. This fiasco is the doing of the Liberal Party of Canada. Will the government acknowledge its full responsibility in the Canada Post crisis? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I find this question absolutely surprising when I have these Bloc members that have been saying for years that Canada Post has to be modernized. We've been waiting for 20 months, and when the employees were striking last Christmas, they said that it was this action from this government was causing issues, and now we're used to the Bloc living in some type of parallel universe. They're not recognizing that they're losing $10 million a day. We need to modernize Canada Post, and we expect both parties to reach an agreement.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised he would negotiate a win with President Trump and have a deal by July 21st, but there's been no win and there is no deal. Major U.S. tariffs on Canada have doubled, and the Prime Minister has repeatedly conceded to Americans' demands. Now his office is telling media that all steel and aluminum tariffs may be lifted tomorrow, finally. But what about the auto sector, Mr. Speaker? Thousands of jobs are at risk. GM is cutting. Stellantis has idled its Windsor plant and moved $10 billion of investment to the U.S. Will the Prime Minister's long-promised, long-overdue deal include an end to U.S. tariffs on Canadian autos? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected this government to protect, build, and transform our economy. We are protecting and supporting our industries through the new $5 billion Strategic Response Fund, the $1 billion Tariff Release Initiative, which will give thousands of Canadian businesses financial support to access new global markets. We are building Canada with new nation-building projects, which will lead to thousands of new careers in skilled trades across Canada. And we are transforming our economy by unlocking new market opportunities so that Canadian businesses have preferential access to fast-growing regions around the world. Mr. Speaker, we are laser-focused in building Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
The Prime Minister has been full of contradictions over this whole tariff ordeal, Mr. Speaker. He blames U.S. tariffs for shrinking the economy and job losses, but he also says Canada's getting a great deal with the U.S. on tariffs. But since the Prime Minister took office, the deficit has doubled. Canada has the fastest shrinking G7 economy with the second highest unemployment rate. $54 billion of net investment has left Canada, and 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs. So when is the Prime Minister going to start delivering on his rhetoric? When are we going to get results, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister gave 22 million Canadians a tax cut for families to put more money in their pocket. The Prime Minister is right now has a team negotiating with the United States to make sure that we protect Canada's position as the best country in the world with the lowest tariff rates. We are building the economy of the future together. I know the honourable member will support that.
The Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to, quote, negotiate a win with President Trump by July 21st. Still no win and still no deal. Because this Prime Minister failed to negotiate a deal, U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood have jumped to 35% this summer, and next week they'll jump to 45%. Since 2015 in BC, 29 mills have closed, and we've lost over 68,000 jobs. For the sake of all British Columbians, will the Prime Minister finally get a deal done and end U.S. tariffs on softwood lumber?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we're working extremely hard to open up new markets right across the country and around the world, Mr. Speaker. 96% of agriculture products are moving tariff-free across the border into the U.S. We're proud of that, Mr. Speaker. We're going to stand alongside our farmers. We signed a new bilateral agreement with Indonesia, Mr. Speaker, and we're continuing to work hard. Next week, Mr. Speaker, when a lot of people from this House will be put their feet up, we'll be in Mexico working on more deals. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
The Prime Minister promised to, quote, negotiate a win with President Trump. He promised a deal by July 21st. Well, it's October, still no deal, still no win. Instead, tariffs on Canada have doubled. But now we hear the PMO is reportedly telling media that tomorrow all steel and aluminum tariffs will be lifted. But what about lumber? U.S. lumber tariffs on Canada have increased by more than 100%. Jobs have been lost. Mills have been closed. Will the Prime Minister's long overdue deal tomorrow include an end to tariffs on Canada's incredible forest industry? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we've been clear that U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber are absolutely unjustified, and we are working at every level to resolve the softwood lumber dispute. To date, we have announced more than $50 million in income supports for more workers, $700 million in loan guarantees, and $500 million in capital investments to make the industry more competitive and retool it for the future, including to build more Canadian homes. We will buy Canadian, we are ready to build, and we are changing federal procurement processes to require companies contracting with the federal government to procure Canadian lumber. This is how we build the strongest economy in the G7. That is how we win a trade war, one we did not ask for, but one we will not back down from.
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
I guess that's a no, Mr. Speaker. You know, the Prime Minister promised elbows up during the last election, said so far on Vancouver Island, all we've had are job losses, mill closures, and higher prices for virtually every good in our society. $54 billion has fled the country. 86,000 people have lost their jobs, and the entire coastal forest industry right now is on the brink of total collapse. Will the Prime Minister demand the lifting of tariffs on Canadian lumber and any trade deal with the United States, or is he preparing to throw our forestry workers and incredible forestry communities under the bus?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we will always be there for forest workers, and that's why we have invested so heavily in them and will continue to do so. This trade war came to our shores, but we are going to finish it by being strong supporters of industry, strong supporters of Canadian workers, and making sure we get the job done.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Monsieur le Président, les Canadiens.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians throughout the country,
including those in my riding of Carleton, are watching the generational investment made by our government in the Canadian Armed Forces. At a time when Canada is diversifying its trade relationships and is increasing its military presence throughout the world, we know that that is having a positive impact on our home industries. Can the Minister tell the House about our recent investments in national defense? The Honourable Minister of National Defense. I'd like to congratulate my colleague, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, we are acting quickly to meet the needs of our Canadian Armed Forces. Last week, we announced the creation of the new Defence Investment Agency in order to speed up defence procurement, and today we are debating Bill C-11, which seeks to modernize the military justice system in order to better support our armed forces. Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely serious matter, and on this side of the House, we are taking rapid action.
The Honourable Member for Oxford.
The Liberal bill has allowed repeat violent offenders to terrorize our communities. And despite promising decisive action, the Prime Minister continues to keep his Liberal bill in place, causing more chaos on our streets. Our Jail Not Bail Act has the support of police chiefs, unions, victim advocacy groups, survivors, and their loved ones. And MPs will vote today to fast-track that bill in this chamber, and Canadians are watching. So what will it take? How many lives have to be lost before this Prime Minister puts aside his partisanship and scraps Liberal bail?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we completely agree that violent and repeat offenders should not be released back into our communities on bail. While we appreciate the opposition's attempt with their motion, it's a bit weak, Mr. Speaker. It misses the mark on key changes that need to be implemented in order to keep a wide array of criminals behind bars. Mr. Speaker, we'll be introducing comprehensive bail and sentencing reforms that have been created in consultation with law enforcement, Crown lawyers, and provincial and territorial governments. Mr. Speaker, our bill that's coming up is a tough on-crime bill.
The Honourable Member for Oxford.
Speaker, the Liberals keep telling Canadians to be patient. Say that to the families of the loved ones that have lost their children, their grandchildren on the streets of Canada. Every day the Liberals delay, 1,600 more violent crimes happen in our country. The Woodstock TD robbery, suspect was out on bail. The murder of Constable Perchella, the suspect was out on bail. The murder of Tory Dunn, the offender was out on bail. Enough is enough. It's time to scrap Liberal bail. So if the Prime Minister won't scrap Liberal bail, will he at least do the decent thing? Show some compassion and get out of the way.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, like I said, violent and repeat offenders should not be released on bail.
Hear, hear.
We agree with this. That is why we're bringing forward comprehensive bail reform. We want to get it right, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to pass something that is weak and lets violent offenders back out onto our streets.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Liberal bail laws have unleashed a bloodbath of violent crime across this country. C-75, the catch and release Liberal bail law, is the problem. The Prime Minister has kept Liberal bail in place, causing more bloodshed over his last 6 months. Conservatives listened to police and to victims and drafted a bill to end Liberal bail and restore safe streets. The vote is today. Victims and frontline officers are watching this government. Will the Prime Minister stop protecting criminals, put politics aside, and vote to scrap the Liberal bail?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, listening to the member's question, it's clear there are several deficiencies with the approach that he's put forward. First, Bill C-75 actually makes it harder for offenders who've been charged with intimate partner violence to be released on bail. He would make it easier to have them get out into our communities. Second, Mr. Speaker, he claims to have engaged with law enforcement in the formation of this bill. When you actually look at the measures they're proposing to put forward, it barely scratches the surface of what law enforcement has told us in the first few minutes of conversations. We have a comprehensive set of reforms coming to the bail system that will be designed to make communities safer. I hope in the next number of weeks when this bill comes forward, Conservatives will finally do something in support.
The Honourable Member for Brantford, Brant South, Six Nations.
Let's look at some examples of government in action. In Vancouver, police had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times in 1 year. In Peel, police arrested 18 suspects for home invasions and carjackings. Half were already released on bail. In Saskatchewan, Miles Sanderson was out on release after 59 convictions when he murdered 11 people. Premiers, police chiefs, mayors, victim groups, all begging this government for action. If the Prime Minister refuses to vote to scrap the Liberal bail, will he get out of the way so Conservatives can do it themselves?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, with great respect to my honourable colleague, we have one point of agreement that we need to take action and change Canada's laws to make it harder for violent offenders to be released into our communities. The good news, Mr. Speaker, is the legislation we're putting forward will do exactly that. But what I can't accept is a half-baked idea from the Conservative Party, who seems to have taken something that they've copied and pasted off an American bumper sticker to adopt laws in this country. Mr. Speaker, in the last federal election campaign, sovereignty was at the core of that electoral choice that Canadians made. And I can tell you constituents in my riding, and I expect in the members opposite, want Canadian laws to be made in Canada.
The honourable member for Parkland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, these Liberals keep talking about the things that they will do. Well, they can do something today and vote for our motion for jail, not bail. The Liberals' criminal experiments have unleashed a wave of violence on our street. Police and victims agree C-75 is the problem. This Prime Minister talks tough on crime, but he's had 6 months and he's done nothing. Conservatives are listening, and that's why we put our jail, not bail, up for vote today. This country is watching this vote. When will the Liberals finally get on board and stop giving the criminals a free pass?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, if the party opposite wants to be serious on crime, they need to support legislation that's in front of the House that will advance criminal justice reform, Mr. Speaker. We have C2 that is before the House, Mr. Speaker, in which the opposition is unwilling to support. This is a measure that was asked by law enforcement. It will strengthen our border. It will make sure that our country is safer, Mr. Speaker. There's no double-speak here, because at this point, on this side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker, we will bring forward bail reform, and we will ensure that it's safe, and it will ensure that it's charter compliant.
Honourable member for Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, I can't believe my ears. That minister just said that we need to support legislation before this House. They have yet to put forward a bail reform bill. And we put forward a bill today. It's time for them to support it. Sadly, there are too many countless examples of the deadly failures of these Liberals' criminal experiments. In July, a young mother was killed in broad daylight by her ex-husband with a hammer. This brutal attack happened mere hours after he was convicted of assaulting her. He was on bail and he was released after he was convicted. It's time for the Liberals to end these soft on crime experiments. It's time for them to put their blind partisanship aside, stand with us, pass this bill, jail.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we have legislation in front of this House, government legislation, C2, that the party opposite could support and pass. This is very important items that the law enforcement has asked, Mr. Speaker. Throughout this summer, I had the opportunity to meet with police chiefs, police associations, others in law enforcement who have asked for very important tools so that they could do their job better. They could make sure that criminals are off their street, Mr. Speaker. So if the party opposite is serious about criminal justice reform, it will start by supporting the C2.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal bail has caused a bloodbath of crime in communities nationwide. The culprit is Bill C-75, the catch and release Liberal bail law. The Prime Minister has kept that awful law in place over his last 6 months in power. But Conservatives have taken advice from police and victims to draft a new bill to scrap Liberal bail and bring peace to our streets. The House votes on it today. Victims and police are watching. So will the Prime Minister put partisanship aside and vote to scrap Liberal bail?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we spent this summer consulting with experts across this country to come up with a comprehensive plan to address criminality in our country, Mr. Speaker. Quite frankly, their bill is weak, and our bill will address everything that is in their bill and much more. It'll keep a whole wide array of criminals behind bars, Mr. Speaker, but we have C2 in front of this House right now, too, and C2 addresses many cases such as murder, extortion, child exploitation, and sextortion, Mr. Speaker. Many of our vulnerable children have committed suicide in this country, Mr. Speaker, and the Conservatives, I ask
The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gabi Renault. She was a woman who was killed in Saint-Jérôme 4 weeks ago by a man who had been arrested 30 times, had broken bail conditions 16 times. All of that because of liberal bail. But the good news is that my colleague for Oxford, with Bill C-242, in consultation with police officers and victims groups, that bill is ready to be passed. Will the Prime Minister tell his government, his members, to vote in favor after question period today? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, we need to change Canadian legislation to strengthen the bail system. But at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we recognize that the bill that's before us today has many problems.
Not going to take a bill that is completely deficient, that does not scratch the surface of what law enforcement, provinces and territories and experts have informed us on over the last few months. Our job is not to pander with slogans, but to advance solutions to help Canadians save. That is what the government legislation is going to do.
The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the gaps have been caused by the Liberals over the last decade. Bills like C-83, like C-75 have all led to crime going up in Canada. A bill has been tabled here in this House, a bill that is based on consultations with all stakeholders that will make our streets safer to help women avoid the fate that struck Gabi Renault. Will this government vote in favor of the bill today, yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Justice.
My honourable colleague's argument is self-defeating. He suggests that one of the laws to blame when it comes to bail should be repealed, when in fact that would make it easier for someone charged with intimate partner violence to be released on bail. If you're going to be critical of a piece of legislation on the floor of the House of Commons, it is a good idea to read it first. Mr. Speaker, we have spent months engaging with law enforcement, with provincial and territorial counterparts, with constitutional experts, with those who advocate on behalf of victims to ensure that we are moving forward with policies that are actually going to keep Canada safe. People want solutions, not slogans, and that's what we'll deliver.
The Honourable Member for Honoré Mercier. Mr. Speaker, too many women face obstacles when they try to access sexual and reproductive health services, whether it be because of lack of information, because of a discrimination or geographical isolation. We need to make more of an effort to develop resources, increase awareness, and provide logistical support. Can the Minister of Health tell us what the government is doing to increase the availability and accessibility of sexual and reproductive health information and services? The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for his question. Everyone deserves to be able to have access to sexual and reproductive health services, regardless of when or of where they live. That's why last week I was so happy to announce that we will be offering funding to groups like the Disabled Women's Network of Canada, the Canadian Association of Community Health Centres, and other organizations, which are offering community solutions to broaden access to sexual and reproductive health services. This will help many more Canadian men and women to fully participate in the job market.
Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal policies, Liberal bail have caused a bloodbath of crime throughout Canada. So much of this comes back to the Liberal bail provisions of Bill C-75. But Canadians should not have fear, Mr. Speaker, because we have a jail, not bail bill that we will be voting on today. In fact, Peel, Halton, and minutes ago, the Toronto Police Association endorsed our jail, not bail bill. So, when the Justice Minister says our bill is deficient, will he tell those police associations they're wrong? Yes or no?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, like I've said before, our comprehensive legislation that is just coming out.
We're going to take that one from the top. I suppose I could turn up the volume a little bit more, but I think I'd like to try to keep it at this level and see if we can respect that. So, the Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like I said, we spent this summer consulting with police chiefs across the country, associations. The legislation, the comprehensive legislation that will be coming out in a few weeks is recommended by police agencies across this country, Mr. Speaker. It contains a lot more than the piece of legislation that is being offered by the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. Quite frankly, their piece of legislation is weak. It doesn't address all aspects of crime. Everything that Canadians are looking for will be addressed in our upcoming bill.
Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if the legislation is so weak, why are the Peel, Halton, and minutes ago Toronto Police Associations endorsing our legislation, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, the reality is that bail is out of control. In Kelowna, 15 people were responsible for 1,335 police calls. One person responsible for 223, alleged to violate bail 31 times, not showing up for court 32 times. These Liberals tell us what they're going to do. What have they done the last 10 years? Diddly poo. Will they pass our bill? Yes or no?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, you know what else has been endorsed by police across this country? C2 and our Stronger Borders bill. Every police agency across this country has endorsed that piece of legislation. Do you know, Mr. Speaker, Canada is the only country amongst the G7 and our Five Eyes that does not have a lawful access legislation. Mr. Speaker, this is so important in order to protect our children that are being exploited online, Mr. Speaker. Will the Conservatives stop being concerned about the privacy of criminals?
Here. Good job. The Honourable Member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, Liberal bill has caused a bloodbath of crime in communities across this country. Just last week, a man was stabbed on a bus in Brampton by a criminal out on bail. Over his last 6 months in power, the Prime Minister has kept Liberal Bill C-75 in place, causing more bloodshed. Conservatives have taken police and victims' advice to draft a bill that will scrap Liberal Bill and bring peace on our streets. The House vote is today. Victims and police are watching us. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing and vote to scrap the Liberal Bill today?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, like I've already said, our bill is comprehensive and is much stronger than the Conservative bill. I believe the Conservatives will be happy to see it in the coming days. It addresses all their issues and much, much more. Mr. Speaker, we have been a tough on crime government since we've taken office. Mr. Speaker, our top priority has been to address these issues with C2, with listing the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist organization. Mr. Speaker, we've been able to crack down on criminals across this country, and I want to thank law enforcement for all of the arrests they've been making and the many, many sentences.
The Honourable Member for Sackville, Bedford, Preston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all members of the House agree on the need to keep our communities and streets safe. A key part of that commitment is freeing Canadians from the scourge of gun violence, an issue our government is committed to addressing. To that end, Can the Minister for Public Safety explain how this critical work is being advanced through the assault-style firearm compensation program? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the member for Sackville, Bedford, Preston for his very important question. I was pleased to say, Mr. Speaker, last Monday on October the 1st, the pilot program.
I mean, there's a lot of noise coming from one of the corners around here. Yeah, I won't name which corner. Yeah. Okay. The Honourable Minister from the top.
You're being recorded.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank the honourable member for Sackville, Bedford, Preston for this very important question. And let me advise him that on October the 1st, we launched the firearm compensation program in Cape Breton, Mr. Speaker. Already we have people signing up, Mr. Speaker, who are registering and ensuring that they're eligible for the compensation. We look forward to the expansion of this program across Canada. In addition, we're working to secure the border, including Bill C-2, $1.3 billion investments at our border. We will have comprehensive bail as well as other reforms coming forward, Mr. Speaker. We will keep Canadian.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, the aluminum sector in the Saguenay is suffering, especially since this new Liberal Prime Minister has been in power. Tomorrow he'll be meeting President Trump. When he was trying to get elected, the Prime Minister told Canadians that he was the man of the hour and that he would negotiate with the Americans. But today the tariffs have doubled. Will the Prime Minister finally keep his promise of negotiating a good agreement that gets rid of these tariffs? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for this excellent question. He knows that we have always invested in the aluminum sector. The aluminum sector is an extremely important strategic sector, just like steel, forestry, and the auto sector. We've even met to talk about it, so he knows that on this side of the House, we will always be here to support the workers in our aluminum sector and the entire sector, in fact, and we will always stand up for Canada's interests.
Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, coastal First Nations oppose crude oil projects through their territories and strongly support the tanker moratorium protecting British Columbia's Great Bear Rainforest. They have built a sustainable economy that creates jobs, supports communities, and safeguards globally significant ecosystems. Premier Smith's pipeline push ignores their Indigenous rights. When introducing Bill C-5, the Prime Minister pledged no province or Indigenous group would be forced into unwanted projects. Will this government uphold that promise?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, the Build Canada Act has very strong provisions in it to make sure there's Indigenous consultation. And it also has strong provisions to make sure that what we're doing is building a strong Canada for the future. We will leave it that the Premier from British Columbia and the Premier from Alberta can have those conversations as to the path forward, but we will be making sure that we are building a strong Canada for the future.
You're here. And that concludes question period for today. It being 3:11, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion of Mr. Canna relating to the business of supply. Call in the member.